Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, world. This is Gilbert Lowe with Veeam Software, and today I have a very special guest, Mr. Bill Burgman, Senior Director of Corporate Resellers for Veeam Software in the United States. Bill, welcome. Welcome to the show. Happy Friday.
Gil, thank you for having me. It's great to be on the show and also to see how your viewership has been growing on these Friday LinkedIn. It's been fantastic. I am here to remind you, however, that you do have a quota. I think you
Yeah.
actually carry the biggest quota of anybody in North America. So I'm glad this is only your side job.
It's only a side job, Bill. Only 30 minutes of your time, and you
Yep.
are on the green seat. So I appreciate you stepping in today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I kind of want to take a look at really how does managing a large reseller for Veeam really how can we help customers, right? So and today I want to kind of take a look at the ecosystem of partners that the vast ecosystem of partners that we have, and this is for the United States right now, right? So. We'll put that slide up here in a second, but really, when it comes down to, I know you cover the corporate resellers, but we have partners across national resellers, small resellers, you name it, right? So
Right.
that's one of the big benefits that we're 100% channel, right, Bill? And I think that's one of the big benefits of Veeam, right?
Absolutely. And one of the main reasons that I've enjoyed the 8 years here at Veeam is just our commitment to the channel. I've spent time at a bunch of different companies where they talked a great game around channel, but at the end of the day, in many cases, might have gone away from channel if they were forced to by the customer or from different scenarios. But Veeam has stayed 100% true to the channel and just have an incredible network of channel partners because of it.
Yep, agreed. So let's take a look at who's on from watching from the world. Let's take a look at the map. We'll probably refer to this, but we have people that across the world, wanting to hear your expertise, Bill, on how you manage large channel partners. But tell us where you're watching from. If you're logged on, tell us where you're watching from. Comment below. We're going to come back to this map and see who we get across the world, and it's going to be great. So as you can see, it's kind of lighting up right now. Bill, one of your favorite places you went to recently, you said was Croatia, right? You
Oh,
had a great time out there,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah,
Okay,
fantastic place. I would recommend it to anyone. Land of
great.
3,000 islands out there, and it's just a fantastic country. So if you haven't had a chance, very affordable as well.
Gotcha. And then we're broadcasting live from Chicago.
Yep.
We think it's the capital of the channel in the U.S. But right now it has Spain, Vietnam, and India all logged in, looking at us right now. So
Well,
yeah, I mean, it's in this early, late, or morning. You just never
yeah,
know, right?
I'm thrilled that they're on.
Exactly. All right, let's take a look at these partners. We have a different plethora of partners that we support, right? From distribution. You manage the large resellers, or what we call corporate resellers, right, Bill? Um, we have a group that handles the national partners here. We have focus partners, and then we have Veeam Cloud service providers as well. And of course, we have a plethora of alliance partners that we go to market with day in and day out. We co-sell or resell on their paper. And we just think that, Veeam is that software agnostic solution that can work with many different people. But like I said, 100% channel. Let's go to the next. So let's go to your corporate resellers. So you're really intimate with these corporate resellers. So if you are on the line, or comment below if you are from one of these corporate resellers: Connection, Zones, SHI, Soft Choice, Insight, CDW. Bill, why did you choose these partners?
I think it's just been the history. I mean, my history goes way back till 1987, back to the CDW original days when they were on Maria Court with 60 guys, and they had a push conveyor belt that went out over their head. I remember the first time I walked in there in 87, 88.
Hmm.
Greg Zeman, who was the president at the time, gave me the royal tour, and that tour took about 5 minutes because there
Okay.
was one room with 60 reps with a conveyor belt over their head. They'd stamp the box and they'd go out the door. At the time, they were called MPK Computing. So, and then of course the Chicago market has morphed into so much more. Comark, of course, one of the original enterprise sellers here that is now really part of Insight. Those people are still working it today. Jason Sullivan, Tom McCartney, guys like that are
Hmm.
still at it 25, 30 years later. So it's exciting to see just kind of how the whole thing evolved into today. And again, we call Chicago partner capital of the world.
Right.
I know some of my friends in New York and California don't like to hear that, but the reality is, besides CDW and their headquarters being here and the majority of their sales force being here, you look at Insight, they're really the core of their enterprise business is located here. Their warehouse and configuration center is located here. And we could go down the path. You look at SHI, just an incredibly strong presence here in Chicago with Pete Caruth, Joe Negron, and Scott Rember. I mean, they just got an incredible management team over on Michigan Avenue that, we spend tons of time with, and I think they're one of their top performing areas. And even if we go through the other partners, Soft Choice, I think outside of Canada, this is their largest office, is located here in Chicago with great leadership, connection. Outside of their New Hampshire facilities, this is really their biggest facility here in Schaumburg, and of course now being held down by Campbell Land is out there right now. And then Zones, even though they're located in Seattle, I mean, Dominic Camden, who really runs all of their sales, is located here in Chicago. So it really is for my partners being in Chicago, and then of course with all the travel that we do to try to get to the east, west, and south, it's just the optimal place to be. And if you're traveling, it's great. But if you're here in Chicago, there's plenty to do with the corporate resellers.
So all roads lead to Chicago, Bill. I mean, I'll go back to, I've been in Chicago for 12 years now. You and I worked together at Computer Associates, and I remember calling you one day and saying, "Hey, Bill, do you have anything up in Chicago?" And I know coming from Tampa to Chicago is different. I know it's backwards, but I thought Chicago was a land of opportunity. And you and I share the same passion. Well, actually, you kind of turned me on to the passion of golf, right?
Yes.
So thank you for this picture, by the way.
I,
But yeah, tell me, why'd you bring me up, and how does golf tie into everything that you do?
I remember that really well. I probably remember it a little differently, and that it's a Computer Associates, which I did 3 tours of duty with, just great company. I think with 2006, maybe it was 2007.
Yep.
We did have an opening here in Chicago, and well, one thing we did at CA was we used to get to the office super early, 5:30 in the morning. It was almost like a contest between the salespeople to see who could get there early. It was ridiculous. Tim Kowski, Rob Perry, guys like that. I always thought I'd walk in at 5:30 and be the only guy there, and people were already there and working, and that was the type of environment it was. But one morning I walked in and you were there after our phone conversation, said I drove up here because I really, really want this job. Right?
Yes.
So, and I think the first question I asked you was, do you play golf? And you really at that time, I think, said no. So to see where you've come, and I occasionally able to beat me right now, it's great to see.
Strong word.
Yeah. But I mean, the association for me with golf goes all the way back to Butler National Golf Club here in Oak Brook. It's a private club, only about 60 members at the time in the 70s. So I worked there for 7 years when I was 14 till I was 13 till I was about 20, working there and just being around leaders of business in Chicago. It was a very exclusive club. The president of the banks, the president of Dominic's food chain, the president of Caldwell Bankers. So we had a very exclusive group, and just being around those guys every day and seeing how they dressed and how they walked and how they talked and how they treated people, I know it made a huge impression on me. And I was like, this is what I really want going forward. And of course, the golf part of it stayed with me forever. But they had the first, Tom Watson's first win was there in 1974 at the Western Open. I got to caddy it for Chichi Rodriguez during that. And so spent a lot of time just being around golf all the time, and it's carried through to business. Still think it's just a great tool in business, whether you like golf or you don't like golf. The reality is, here's an opportunity to spend 4 or 5 hours with a customer or partner of yours where maybe you'd get a half hour of their time otherwise. So if that customer or partner is a golf fanatic and you've really hit it off on the golf course, it's a lifelong type of friendship. I mean, I've got 30-year friendships from early businesses that I was involved with that we're still together, and that's the glue, right? That holds it together.
Yeah. And it's the new office right now, Bill. I'm going to go back to the map because we got even more people that just joined us. We have people from Romania, United Kingdom, Turkey, New York.
That's another country.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry about that. Phoenix, Arizona, Miami, Florida, Bulgaria, Indonesia, and Poland. So keep joining us, people, and comment below. if you have if you have questions about Veeam's channel, and we're going to keep on going with you, Bill. So besides for golf, tell us more about your background. I think you were a cab driver in the past life, right?
Yeah, well, I was born and raised in Chicago on the west side and grew up in a town called Elmhurst. Right now, it's home to a lot of Veemers, actually. Corey Gunn, who runs a lot of our channel, Matt Forsberg, who runs our commercial business in the North Central, seem to all migrate to Elmhurst, centrally located just off the west side of Chicago. So grew up there. And yes, went out to the University of Iowa for 5 wonderful years. And while I was there, I was the cab driver, basically, for Iowa City. And drove a huge checker cab, and I drove from 6 at night till 6 in the morning. It was quite.
That's why you stay up and email us every day. Okay,
yeah,
I was wondering where that came from.
I got some strange habits from that 6 at night till 6 in the morning, and all kinds of crazy stories, of course. And you're dealing with all kinds of different people again. So really good experience there. And of course, it was for a college student, it was all cash. So it was a very lucrative. I think that's really gave me my first indication too of, hey, I want to be making money like this at all times. So got out of there barely with an education, but really the biggest highlight of it was that's how I met my wife. My wife was stranded in a snowstorm at the cab stand. And I said, and she was waiting for a bus that wasn't coming. And I said, hey, how about hop in the cab and drive around with me a bit while you're waiting? And she did.
She never got out that cab for the rest of her life.
Really, 38 years later, yes. So that job is probably the best job for that reason that I've ever had.
There you go. So what led you to technology, Bill? I mean, you went from, cab driver to how did you get into technology?
Yeah, it was an interesting one again for me, maybe not for all the people on the phone, but for me, I was working as a bouncer in a nightclub called Rupert's 33 Club in the IBM building out in Rolling Meadows. And they were putting point of sale cash registers in, new ones in. And I had wandered over, talked to the people, and they said, sure enough, we're looking for a salesperson for Chicago. So went over, interviewed, and I got the job. I think $24,000. I still have the letter. It was a $24,000 job, and I was on top of the world with that $24,000, and spent the next 5 years really going door to door in downtown Chicago, selling restaurants, focused mostly on fine dining restaurants. NCR was kind of the technology leader at the time, and we were the disruptor. So it was kind of the first time I had where I used technology to be a disruptor. A lot of the restaurants were doing everything manually. They were family run. So we were able to bring the point of sale in there. And I did everything. I demoed it, I sold it, I installed it, I programmed it. I even had to collect the money. And of course, the restaurant business being a 24/7 business, I could sell all day, and then I'd be in those restaurants and trying to collect at night. And then, of course, the weekends. My first boss, Lou Olesnicki, his favorite saying was, Saturday ain't no holiday. So, we worked Saturday, Sunday. We did demos all day Saturday. We worked Sunday too. So that's carried over a little bit too in terms of the work ethic. I like the Saturday and Sunday mornings. I do believe in this business, we're moving so fast all week long. It's great catch-up days.
So what was your big break into the PC business then? I mean, you went from cab driver to selling, registers, and now.
Yeah,
PC,
I mean, Micros was a great ride. When I got there, it was $20 million. When they ended up, anybody who goes into a hotel or a restaurant today will see the Micros out there. They grew, and Oracle actually bought them for $5 billion. So I missed that one because I jumped. I missed in that one, and I jumped and I went to a little company called AST Computer, which was really the first clone maker. The IBM PC AT was out there, and Compaq was messing around with luggables and laptops, but we were really the first one to come out with a 286, Intel 386, and then, of course, the big one, the Intel 486 processor. It was a great company out of AST, out of Irvine, California. We grew it for my 10 years there. We grew it from 0 to 2.3 billion and a Fortune 500 company. And it reminds me a lot of, the ascension of Veeam. It's been that type of trajectory at Veeam as well. And there are some comparisons there. But at the end of the run there at AST, Dell and Gateway came on the scene, and we didn't pay enough attention to them, and they really steamrolled us. And someday I think there'll be a great business course on just some of the steps that happened there at the end of AST that led to the downfall. bad acquisitions, some greed, good old-fashioned greed that got in the middle of it, and it
Okay.
just really went down. So, but that was the first time, again, going back to the story on CDW, they were my main
Yeah.
partner back then, starting in 87, 88. Of course, the channel looked totally different there. You had computer lands and business lands in all of the major metropolitan areas, and they were the dominant force until really we started working with these corporate resellers who then became the dominant force, drove them out of business as they were
Right.
much more flexible, and they had this incredible drive from the call center out that business land and computer land just couldn't match. So it has totally evolved, but that's really about the roots. So, you know, during that AST time was some of the roots of this corporate reseller group that we call on today.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to the map and see we got some new people that just jumped on. We've got people from Canada, Italy, Hungary. I've got an aunt in Hungary. Hello, Heidi. And then of course we've got New Hampshire and Minnesota in the States. So I appreciate you all jumping on and listening to this history lesson of the channel out of Chicago, right? But this definitely expands to so much more. So we're gonna keep going, Bill. So you had a lot of different moves in your career. You jumped around a little bit. You bounced around, but tell
That's
me more.
being nice, Gil. That's
Yeah,
being
that would
nice
be
saying
nice.
that a
Yeah,
little.
tell us about what you learned from bouncing around, right?
Yeah, I had a nice run there for 10 years, and really, my entire career I've been that kind of stayer, right? I went to the same grade school, high school, college, etc. And so I've been that was my MO. But after AST, there's been probably 12 different companies between AST and where I am today. And I just looked at it more as project based. I guess I've never been one of these people who, where are you going to be in 5, 10 years? I've always been very focused on the here and now and on projects. So coming at the end of the road at AST, knowing what was happening there, I made a jump to Fujitsu. Fujitsu was launching the first laptop in the United States. It was called the Lifebook. They're still around today. A real small, lightweight little laptop. And I was the first person they hired in North America. We hired the entire channel, and we had great success getting some of these little lightweight laptops out there. So once we got the channel established, once we got it started, I started looking for something else. And it really, that something else was to try to get into software. I've been a hardware junkie kind of my whole career. So I wanted to get into software, and that's where I first jumped in with Computer Associates. Just had a great time there with Chris Hickey and George Kafkarko. Great mentors at CA, and the project there was to get all the box software out of the channel, because in 2000, guess what? Licensing was coming on the scene for the first time. We'd sold all software to that point through a box of software with a disk, and there was a couple $100 million of that sitting in warehouses across America. My job was to sell it all out, do fire sales, do contests, get it out of there, and we got it out of there in less than a year. And CA's, of course, licensing program was way ahead of its time and set the standard for a lot of the licensing that is done today. So once that was done, the only other thing was the internet, right? It was 2000, 2001, and the internet had just started to explode, and I got real anxious. I was like, I'm going to miss this if I stay at CA and just work resellers. So I went on this odyssey, about a 5-year odyssey with 5 different startups out of Silicon Valley who went 24/7, creating new websites with Broadvision, creating new portals with Epicentric, doing online configurators with Selectica. So I kind of made all these moves, was ahead of Alliance, sold direct. So I sold to Fortune 500. I sold some of the biggest software deals to CNA, ADP, Fortune 500, like that. So again, that experience is helping me today, because as we work with our enterprise sellers, I mean, I really have a lot of empathy for them, because understand how tedious and long that work is, and that they need our help in the channel to really take all that to close some of these opportunities and to get involved in the Fortune 500. It's not easy, but after doing all that, back to CA again, and that's where the 5-year run with you happened, where we handled the ArcServe line, very similar market, backup and recovery. Not a product that probably had the breadth and scale of a Veeam, but it was really like a good practice run, if you will, for what we're doing today with Veeam.
Right. And then, so how did you end up at Veeam? Let's go to Veeam. I know we both work at Veeam, but let's talk about Veeam and let's talk about more channel with Veeam. But how did you end up at Veeam?
Why Veeam? You don't want to talk about my 100-day run at EMC. Okay.
Well, yeah, that was a blip, right? That was a blip. That's
We'll
how
save
fast
that
it
for
was.
another conference call or another session one day. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was I had a CA's spinoff called Total Defense. I was the VP of Sales there, security spinoff. When a good friend of ours, Nathan Wasaki from ProMark at the time, called and said, "Bill, I've got this for you, Veeam. This has your name written all over it." I honestly had not heard of Veeam
Okay.
at the time, and went out to Las Vegas during I think it was CDW's Partner Summit. Met with Chris Moore, who was running the channel at the time, and I just from day one was so impressed with this market share at any cost. They were
Yeah.
hell bent on taking the backup and recovery market back 8, 9 years ago, and I wanted to jump in with both feet. So my first day with Veeam was actually 8 years ago, and our sales kickoff was day one. And I remember walking in there and listening to Ratmir Timashev, our CEO and founder at the time, and just being so impressed with his channel-only, channel-first
Right.
mentality and the energy and the passion that he brought. And he was available for those channel partners 24 hours a day. And he was ready to invest. A lot of people talk a great game around channel, but he put his money where his mouth was in terms of
Right.
the investments into the people and into the channel. So it's just fun to see. And then
Yeah.
the people I inherited itself. I mean, I walked in day one. It's always hard to pick up a new sales team, and to walk in and see people like Brad Tucci and Ashley Skews and Lindsey Brown and all these people who, by the way, are still with us today, and just the
Right.
energy that they had and the energy they brought to everything, just fantastic. So I thought I walked in and I had a Ferrari. I was drive the car, don't try to crash it. Right? Was kind
Right.
of
Yeah.
when I first
Congrats.
walked in the door.
So I guess when it comes to the Veeams channel, what's Veeams proposition when it comes to the channel? Let's talk about that, right? Why? I know we
Well,
talked about 100% channel, but let's talk
it's
about that.
changed over the year, but I mean, I think it's really around for us, for our team. I can't speak for all of Veeam, but I think for our team, our foundation was really built on four things. One is the product itself. I mean, we knew we had the best product then, we have the best product now. And it's so great for channel partners to have that confidence when they're selling a product like Veeam to their customer, knowing that they're going to have a satisfied customer who's going to come back, who's going to be able to take advantage of all the technology upgrades, et cetera, that we've done over the course of the years. So the quality of this product, I have never, I've been here almost 8 years. Can't remember maybe one return over those 8 years, which is amazing. For anybody who's out there in technology knows, products go in, they don't work all the time. Our saying for the first few years I was here was, it just works. It was a great tagline, and I've never seen a more true tagline, because this product went in, it had no problems up and running in minutes for most of our customer base. So just the quality of the product. So to be able to have that, it puts everything else to rest, and you can go about your business knowing your product's so solid. The next thing, the profitability for our resellers. Since day one, they've had very rich deal registration programs, incentives for our partner folks. And again, like I said, with Ratmir, putting really the money and investing into the channel, it's just been fantastic to see. And again, so now the partner rep, corporate reseller rep has the opportunity to sell a great product, and
Hmm.
also some really good profitability for him and for his company. Number three, most important to me, easy to do business with. And
Yeah.
all of our day, that being on our team, we spend majority of our day making sure that we have full coverage for our partners, so that there is not the response time that we have, the SLAs we have in terms of our response team is just unparalleled. I think that we learned that early on. That's one thing early on from CDW. Michael Krasny, if you didn't respond to him, you were going to be in trouble. All right.
Hmm.
So we learned that early on, that you had to be hyper responsive, is the word we use. So for our partners right now, we have a team of people both outside and then inside in our call centers in Alpharetta and
Hmm.
in Arizona that are hyper responsive, and makes it super easy to do business with Veeam. And then last but not least, the fun part. We
Right.
realize you've got corporate resellers out there who go to a cube every day in a call center. Can't be that exciting, right? They're walled in.
Hmm.
So we try to bring a little fun to them, make it exciting for them, put fun
Right.
in the Veeam brand. You've done a great job with things like the Beach Challenge. I mean, you don't see events like that where we bring all the partners on a North Avenue beach and compete.
Hmm.
the
That was a good
Lollapalooza
event.
contest we did, of course, St. Patrick's Day, where we blanketed all the call centers across the United States on St. Patrick's Day in green, plus all their people, plus all their management, took the pictures, posted it. So we've really made it fun, I think, on top of
Yeah.
all, when you have a great product, it's profitable, where we've got a blanket of people covering you, and then we make it fun. To me, those are the four key ingredients to a really great channel.
And I'll say, South Choice will continue to have that reigning championship for one more year until we get back, since we're
Oh,
postponed. But
I showed that picture. That was 1 year ago today. So I showed that
yeah,
picture today on one of our meetings already this morning because, how fast things change. It's just
right.
amazing. We would be there, doing that again this year. So the virtual world has not been as fun, obviously, as being out there on the beach and all these other events that we usually did.
Let's stay on that virtual world piece. So I know COVID has hit. We all had to readjust our lives. I know Veeam certification programs is something that we've been helping since everyone's home now. We're like, hey, become certified on Veeam, whether you're doing our VMSP, our VMTSP, or just our technical certifications. That's been a pretty big mantra, right, Bill? So we've really been doing that. What are some other resources besides the certifications? We also have a marketing center. You want to kind of elaborate on that with the Pro Partner
Well,
program?
marketing has always been the
Yeah.
biggest strength. I mean, going back to Rotner again, he was really a marketer, right?
Hmm.
As well as a salesperson. So the investments we've made in marketing, our marketing's been second to none. I've never seen so many materials available for our partners to go on our partner portal. We'll have all the competitive battle cards you need, incentives to drive business, all the certifications and trainings that you need on that partner portal. So I encourage everyone to go out and check out the partner portal, case studies, things you
Yes.
can use every single day. Really well done. And a lot of things you can, for some of the smaller partners out there too, who don't have a big marketing department, a lot of materials out there that they can customize and use with the Veeam branding around it as they go out to their customers.
Yes, and I guess one question we get a lot, right, is like you just talked about the marketing center. We can definitely brand that, but when you and I are in meetings, we want to really provide the value of the channel, right? So whether we're talking and selling internally to our internal sales folks, or whether we're selling, helping a customer protect their critical data, what
Yep.
are some of the key value propositions that partners bring to help customers when they're trying to protect their critical data?
Yeah, I
What
think
else? Yeah, what else can they do?
I think sometimes, and again, talking to my group, that corporate reseller group, I think they get a little bit of a bad rap sometimes because they're call center driven and how many phone calls and they're on the phone. The reality is each one of those have a very sophisticated, large pre-sales organization that we spend a lot of time with, and that of course we have people dedicated to working with them the same way we are dedicated to working with the salespeople. So the expertise and the certifications around all the bigger solutions, HP, Cisco, NetApp, et cetera, that we then can tie into is really their forte. And of course, we're in
Yeah.
COVID, so anything that they can do to help the customers right now from a financing proposition and all the financing all the finance that they have, and then of course these long-term relationships. When we look out there and we see the guys who've been there for 20, 25 years,
Right.
that's just a huge value add who have that long-term relationship with the customer.
Great. So, last thing, what's the biggest opportunity, Bill, that you see within Veeam?
I think right now we are in this second act, and a lot of this second act has been driven by the move to the cloud and move to subscription. But for us and our focus with our partners right now, it's the move to the enterprise.
Yeah.
Veeam's 370, if you broke out Veeam's 375,000 customers, it's an amazing number.
Right.
You'd see the majority of them are small business, medium business, some large business. We are in 87% of the Fortune 500 right now, but on a departmental type of basis. So we have spent a lot of time over the last year or two segmenting our channel, putting in place a enterprise leadership team and enterprise sales force across the United States. And then our team is really aligning those enterprise sellers with the enterprise sellers at our partners. So the move into the enterprise is really, I think, the most exciting and the most, challenging but exciting piece that's coming up here for Veeam. And I think it's going to lead to a whole another spark and a whole nother spike within Veeam on top of these 375,000 customers as we become the corporate standard at the Fortune
Right.
500. Not easy, right? But we've spent lots of time on the product to get it enterprise ready. With version 10, we believe we're enterprise ready. With version 11, we'll even be more enterprise ready.
And Gartner, the Gartner Magic Quadrant 2020, they've named us a leader for the 4th time, and they position us the highest, for ability to execute in the leaders quadrant. So that's the highest we've ever been since you've been here, right? So look at that, we're all the way up and to the right. So you just hit on the 375 customers. I think that's huge. We just got a lot of opportunity here, Bill, and I'm glad to be part of your team, and I'm glad that you decided to come here almost 8 years ago, and brought me over almost 6 years ago. So one thing I want to leave, let's go back to the map first.
Sure.
Let's see where we are on the map. Okay. If you tell us where you're watching from, I appreciate it. We have still a lot of people on. And what's good about these LinkedIn Live sessions, and it was when we do the replay, you can still come in and comment. But I'm going to leave you with this, Bill. This was my quote of the day yesterday. All right. I call it my Thursday turn up quote of the day. And I think this kind of aligns with what you say to me all the time, right? You don't learn to walk by following the rules. You learn by doing and falling over. That's from Richard Branson. And I consider that to failing forward. You've always pushed me to do different things and think outside the box. And I think that I thank you for that. So what do you think about that comment as we leave the world today?
Well, there was a book called First Break All the Rules, right? So I think you don't want to be that defiant in terms of breaking the rules, but challenging the status quo for any salesperson, I think, is always a great mantra. One way of doing that is through some guerrilla marketing. There's very set ways of doing marketing, and then there's very ways of going around and doing different types of marketing. I think we've been very successful with some of our guerrilla marketing stuff, but absolutely challenging the status quo, everything you can, and it just grows you and makes you a better salesperson going forward.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Bill. You are officially off of the green seat.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for agreeing to do this on a Friday inside, right? Next time we'll do this on a golf course outside and get some fresh air.
That would be fantastic.
So let me talk about what we have coming up on Monday on the next LinkedIn Live session. Monday, it's going to be software defined versus the unicorn appliances out there. And that's going to be given by our team of experts. So, join us at 12 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be on, Veeam, on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Okay. Thank you, Bill Burgman. You're off the green seat. Appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great Friday.